boys? How's it going?
Good, man. Good.
So good to have a face-to-face so early in the new year as well.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
You know, like considering everyone's. Yeah, this used to be the setup.
Yeah.
Like when I first started podcasts, I was inspired by people who did have a proper studio, multiple mics, and this whole setup is like old school, man. It's all analog.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which obviously with Zoom and everyone doing podcasts, you have that lesser quality. We're used to seeing podcasts now where people got really bad webcams, they've got really bad microphones, bad mixing, but it seems like, in generally speaking, people are quite accepting of lesser quality these days.
Yeah, just one of those platforms now, easy entry now.
Yeah, this is a lot harder though. Like it's almost like even when I was just clapping in the tracks before Shaun and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, it's like it is so much harder to have these humongous audio files because there's 3 audio files, and then you've got a massive video file. We're talking like gigs worth.
Yeah,
and you need a computer that's beefy enough to put all these 3 audio files in and a video file in, and mixing it down takes hours. Like I remember uploading these videos even took overnight to YouTube and stuff like that, just because the file size is so huge.
Yeah, some of the ones that I upload for our show takes ages, especially if it's not even the full video just for.
But you're recording on Zoom, right?
Just even the Zoom ones,
right?
Yeah. So if you think about
full quality.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Zooms are already 720 max and they're quite small.
Yeah.
But like, what is popping out of this camera is probably 1280 or something huge.
Yeah. So we just bought a new camera.
Yeah.
And our in-person ones this year will be similar to this, which keeps better. So
it's gonna be more work. That's the thing. I mean that's it's like I follow the Zoom US and the Buzzsprout feeds, and they're always going on about just constantly drilling into people that like audio quality is sometimes more important than content, and I'm always that guy in the comments. No fucking way, content is king, like you can have the most amazing podcast with awesome quality content, and if someone has a bad mic, well fuck, it's still a better podcast than someone who's got the best microphones.
I think it is a better podcast, but will people listen to it or not?
That's what their argument is. So I always get comments,
the
people are like, I'll listen to that for 5 seconds and just go, I'll never listen to this podcast ever again.
But it's easy enough now to have both. It's easy enough to have both.
Yeah, or passable.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think generally speaking as well, I read those comments, like I'm probably like everybody else when it comes to YouTube, I go straight to the comments, like that's where the entertainment really is, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many people that will just unsubscribe from a channel just because of the one thing that they've done wrong.
Yeah.
Like they might do their first video that has clickbait in the title, or someone like, oh, what the fuck, clickbait in the title, unsubscribed. I'm just like, man, like.
I think a lot of times people catch whatever they catch at a point in time.
Yeah. Quick to comment.
Yeah, quick to comment, quick to act, quick to make a decision on something based on that one thing they've seen, right? You could have a channel with 1,000 great podcasts. Someone clicks on episode 7 where you thought, you know what, I need to monetize this, I need to do that, and you had 7 ads in there. You might have evolved by episode 15, there's no ads, and you've got amazing content from then on that's ad-free. But someone sees them like, unsubscribe, too many ads.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
People make decisions based on that one little thing they see.
Oh, it's just weird. I mean, it's not as full on as cancel culture, but what I'm seeing a lot of is the tolerance for people is so low that, it's more realistic if you go to a restaurant and they serve a bad dish and you're like, okay, fair enough, I'm paying for this. It's costing me $60-70 and I had a horrible meal, I won't go back. But like if someone just pronounces like guillotine wrong, like, fucking spelt it wrong, and like even pronounce it wrong, and then even in their writing that they're spelling something wrong.
Yep.
That's how fucked up the comments are.
Yeah, I get you.
And I'm like, man, I can't possibly cater for these people.
No, you never will be able to.
Well, that's the thing. I think that's just the nature of the modern world and how they interact with, you know, platforms like this these days. You know.
It's a good conversation now because I love talking to you, Les, because it's always like we're going to start talking about the world, you know, the modern world. Like, let's go.
It's like, bro.
But that's, I mean, look, that's the thing. Like, every time you and I have done something, like nearly every time, and I've introduced you to my community, I always have to mention that you've overcome cancer, right? Because if you're young and you haven't had any issues in life and you read that, you're probably going to go, well, fuck, I can't control this. So it's already enough to maybe a lot of people will be just like, okay, fuck, I've got to respect that. Even if you're a disrespectful person, you're like, okay, well, fuck, I'm not going to comment on this. You know, and then people who are respectful will read into it some more, hopefully. Because, you know, or anyone in the same boat as you would be like instantly, oh, fuck, I can relate. So let's talk about that for a second, because it seems like if we all look at our past, we all, even in high school and shit, you only sort of mingle with maybe the year above you or the year below you, but a very small percentage of them. Whereas now it seems like you're mingling with people that are like 20, 30 years in age gap.
Yeah.
Like on a daily basis. You know, whereas once upon a time you only knew a couple of older people, a couple of younger people.
Yeah.
And now it's like, fuck, how can you possibly expect to click with someone that is not only experience-wise completely on a different level, but age-wise? And that could be an interesting topic just for us straight off the bat. It's just like, well, I have a lot of young friends that believe that, you know, a lot of people tell me, you're like an old soul. You're so interesting, you're like an old soul. I'm like, no, you're fucking not. You're fucking 20. You know, I'm always the first to go, no, you're not. Like, you might be mature at that one thing, but you're still 20. Like, fuck.
I think, you know, what you're really talking about is context. Right? For example, going back to what you said with Les, he has been through cancer, so if you're doing something, you'll introduce that, it gives context. And going back further to what we started talking about, people are just like, unsubscribe, spelled guillotine wrong, or whatever the fuck it is. There's no context to that. You're seeing this little itty sliver of a moment in time on whatever you viewed.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, if you explain, you know, Les has been through a journey which has fed into his experience, which is why we're talking about this thing. You're providing context.
Yeah.
People don't search for context anymore, though. That's the thing, right? If you want to start talking about modern world and things like that, that's what I feel. People don't give context to things, and I think people, a lot of the times, without thinking about it, don't feel like they need to, because there's so much variety, so many options available for them where they can direct their attention.
Well, it's not even an option. It's like, it's more like addiction or whatever. So it's like the options get taken away from you because you're a slave to all these things that are grabbing your attention, right?
Well, that's why clickbait exists and works.
Yeah.
It's why you try to get people in advertising and marketing. They're like, you need to have an engaging image or shocking or use this thing within the first 3 seconds.
It's always like that.
To grab that. How can you provide any context in that?
Yeah.
You can't, right? And that's what everyone's attention is trained to, or trained for now.
You know, I saw a podcast recently where it was a creative podcast, and I won't mention names. I'm really bad like this because
I was about to ask you because I was like, oh, is it good? And then
well, that's the thing. I always get mentioned names and get in trouble so bad. So I won't mention any names, but they're one of the biggest studios out there, advertising agencies out there, and the entire podcast was based on how they have approached a property developer, and they're also known as one of those big property developers that, you know, when you see their cranes and stuff on the street, you don't look at it and just go, oh, cool. Like this, you know, I'm not anti-corporate massively, but there's this weird vibe that I get of like, fuck, they're probably just building some shitty apartments with gyprock walls, and you know, your neighbours are going to be having sex and you'll hear it like loud and clear, and you know, that's what I just think of that, like in 2 years they're going to be cracking and crumbling and falling apart, you know, whatever. But they set out to completely rebrand this developer's image, completely rebrand, like new logo, new ethos and everything. So you're talking about a really successful property developer, but then the angle that they went for was building homes for people should be a really beautiful, positive thing. So we're going to focus in on the emotion of, you're not this big corporate, nasty, multi-billion giant thing. You're actually, you know, catering for the souls of people, the very humanity of building a home for people. And they made people, in essence, try to fall in love with the brand.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like, I was just cringing the whole way through. I'm like, oh my god. You know, you can do this for any evil company out there.
Well, isn't that just the nature of, you know, these companies? Like, at the end of the day, right, like what you're talking about in terms of corporate, like the bottom line, and that what directs their decision making is always about, you know, how to grow economically, right? And that's always the case.
Bottom line, you mean, yeah.
And they've found out like the new ways to connect with people. You know, it's like if you look back into the industrial era, when it's just like literally, you know, cog in, cog out mentality. You know, you come in, do the work, I don't give a fuck about who you are. You know, you just do your job, get paid, go home and come back tomorrow. And now they've found out that you need to care about people because they're not fucking robots, right? Like I experienced this shit firsthand, obviously working in corporate before and like doing it for 12 years. And starting to, you know, think about all these like new things. Oh, you know, you got to be, you got to think about people's emotions. You got to be empathetic and all these sorts of things. People are human. I'm like, fucking, are you sure? Like, you know, you've just come up with, you know, these like strategies now in terms of needing to look after the people that are working for you and not basically grinding them into the dirt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that's it's as a tactic.
Yeah, I know. I understand.
That's like I agree with you.
It's
that's what I mean.
It's a strategy.
They've come to that point now.
Yeah, based on
because before it was expected.
Yeah.
And people used to work like 30, 40 years for the same Telstra or whatever.
Exactly.
And now you can see like with Google and Microsoft and stuff, they pick you up from home. They even find you a home.
Bro, they've
like, hey, come to Seattle and
they've got fucking slides in the building and shit, you know.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So they got like beds in there as well.
Exactly.
You can have naps and stuff. So it's like, was it better before or is it better now?
Man, following on from what you were talking about, you're like, it was all about the bottom line, making money. That's still the bottom line.
It is.
It's
It's
still,
just what I feel you're talking about is they've now worked out, people actually need to feel certain type of way.
To continue to build the bottom
That's
line.
it.
You know?
But that's why I say it's a tactic. It's a tactic of manipulation to get you to keep building the bottom line. It's not because they actually give a shit about you, whatever the business is.
Right,
That's what it
it's
is.
a strategy, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
man,
100%.
same thing like the rebrand of a brand. It's
Yeah.
we could be making more money
Yeah.
if we appease to this or appeal to this person's inner feeling about this.
Yeah.
If we can get them to feel this way about it, they'll buy a home with us. Or if I can get someone to feel this way about how their life's going to be when they buy this SUV, they're going to buy the SUV. And essentially, I'm going to make more money. But that's what it is. It's a tactic. It's a play.
It's playing to the market at the time, right? This is what the market feels they want to see and hear.
That's right.
I was about to say, this is still a learning thing, right? It's almost like,
Absolutely.
oh fuck, now all these chocolate bars and stuff have like may contain nuts, but that's a learning thing, right?
Absolutely.
Like over time. So it'd be fascinating if you have a very skilled individual that would be a benefit to any company out there in that field. But then that person has the choice of, do I want to go for the business that's going to pick me up from work and have fun slides and a bed in there for me to take a nap in once a day, or do I just want to fucking work for this company?
Yeah.
It'd be fascinating for that person to have a tough decision between a company they know, because they're intelligent, they know this is just a thing for now. Who knows next week they're not going to feed me lunch anymore.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, maybe they change their strategy, like, oh, sorry guys, we're not doing free lunches anymore for all staff. You know, who knows? Now, fuck, I should have taken the other job.
Well, the thing is, it's how you interpret what's important to you, and also that's where, like, people feel shit, you know what I mean? It's why when you see a brand and they try to act like they care about you, and you know they don't, like, they're just trying to pluck on a heartstring to get you to buy more shit, you know that, you feel that, right? People feel that shit. It's why you can't trick people into stuff now. Like, people
just take the money anyway. That's the problem, right? Like, I watch a lot of gaming channels on YouTube, and there's this mobile phone game. I'll mention it, Raid Shadow Legends or something. And it's probably like one of those 8 massive Chinese companies that have made this mobile phone game, but their advertising budget is infinite. It's infinite. They're giving people like $4,000 for you to make. They're quite long segments. It's like maybe a minute or 2 long ad within the middle of your video, so people can't skip it, right? So it's not at the front, it's not at the end. It's kind of like, cut to my sponsor. It's this, and it's so savage that like anyone who is sponsored by them in the comments, it's always like, oh god, stop pretending that that's because they give you a script. Like, this is the best game. I'm enjoying it. No. But it's like no one plays this game. It's just a gambling game. You put money in and you buy outfits, and it's just full of microtransactions, and you know, it's a free game to download, but they fucking want your money.
Yeah.
And I can't help but like every time I do see a good YouTuber get to a point where their content's great, and then they get to a point where, oh my god, they're sponsored by those fuckers. So yeah, they've made it, they're now getting paid, but like, they're losing people like me who, I don't know, I prefer to have people who are within the industry or constructive or creating content rather than the masses. So I unsubscribe.
Yeah.
When any of these channels get to the point where they're throwing those ads in my face and I can't skip them, I go, damn, it makes me question, like, I get it, they took the $4,000, but it's like, fuck.
But it just comes down to what you value and why you entered the game in the first place, right? And whether you are going to be, I guess, coerced by the appeal and allure of the money that comes from doing that, you know? Because that's what the platforms do. They like figure out that this guy's getting some heat, they're getting some...
Totally.
Let's jump on him, leverage that,
Yep.
and you are faced with the choice at that point in time. Do I stay true to my product and my vision and values and why I jumped on this in the first place, or do I sell out? You know, and like, it's not one way or another in terms of good or bad, you know, it is what it is. It's like, it's your choice as an individual, but that represents and tells us a little bit about who you are and what you're doing it for, and how important the original content was to you in the first place, you know.
Yeah, it's a tough call, right? I mean, I get that it's a tough call, but maybe because of my experiences with advertising and design, it's an easy call for me.
Yeah.
But when I see other people making it and I believe it's a bad call for them, then I don't know, like, again, I feel like commenting and saying something, but like, I don't want to be the troll, you know?
Yeah.
I don't want to be the hater. So I get it, like, maybe they need that $4,000, you know?
That's the thing, like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, you know, exactly like Shaun and my podcast, right? Before we even started, like, we had a frank conversation about this. I'm like, I basically said, like, just for transparency's sake, like, I'm not going to start this if we aren't on the same page with regards to, you know, the direction and the vision of this thing and what it's all about. Like, we're never going to take on any sort of advertising, and that's what we want to do.
Why would you need to, right? I mean, that's the thing, like, if your businesses are based on your experiences as a human being, and those experiences are the reason, like I said, like me telling your story, right? So those experiences are the reasons as to why someone should trust you and invest their, whether it's money or time, same shit, into you. And then you go and take a huge risk on advertising a brand that isn't your brand. You're not in control whatsoever of this product could be really good throughout history, but what are they going to sell tomorrow? Like, it's just not you.
That's right.
So, like, for me, the risk factor is way too big.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
You know what I mean? That's like, because I feel like what I'm hearing you say is you don't know what someone might do in the future and how that's going to reflect on what you're putting out.
Yeah, because it's not mine. It's out of my control.
Yep.
So it's like we live in this world where we're hardly in control of anything, right? So it's almost like we're in a world now as well where if you made a bad decision, more people are going to find out about it than ever. It's not just the kids on the street that you skate with or ride bicycles with. It's going to be like potentially viral. You know, this is a YouTube channel that I watch, and all he does is the rise and fall of people. All his videos are like an hour long, and it just talks about someone getting to a point where they're...
You watch these?
I watch them.
Sounds awful, dude.
They're horrible, but they're so fascinating because you see people who have millions of viewers and subs. They get to a point where they got there by doing something that they loved, right? Be it like eating food in front of people or making music. A lot of it's art-based actually. People who are talented at something and developed an audience. A lot of it was early days YouTube too, right? So we talked about that. It's obviously a lot easier back then.
Yep.
But then they got tangled up in a lot of the case ego, and usually one bad situation, just one, where they had a fight with someone, they said the wrong thing, and then because your audience is so big, they get called out on it. And I've seen everything from like people literally losing their minds on live videos, and you can't take it away, people crying, and like you become laughing stock of Reddit and all these other nasty sort of troll places, right? Or people even like sharing private messages between them and their girlfriends and breaking up, or singing songs about their ex-partners, nasty songs, nasty lyrics. And I'm like watching this stuff going, or apology videos, like even like Logan Paul and all that shit, like what he did, he went to that Japanese forest where people suicided there, and he found a dead body and was like laughing about it and shooting it, and like, my God, like the whole world came down on him. And then he had to do an apology video. Then people upload videos on how insincere the apology videos, and even like scientifics, people were like, yeah, the way his eyes are looking left here, you can tell he's lying, all this crap. So it's like, why do people do this? Like, why even make the apology video? Because it's like, you're playing into this thing that it's never going to go away. You know, you take the apology video down because it did worse for your brand, because you see these apology videos and stuff, and they're like, dislike to like ratio is massive. Like, it's like so many more dislikes, and it's like, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. Like that, you talk about like the world we live in. That is a good analogy for how crazy people are going to even share their personal, private messages with their huge communities of millions of people. Because like people just keep asking about it. Fuck it, okay, I'm gonna make this video.
I think there's a few different things that play into that. Like, it's with people wanting the attention and also them getting something out of having that attention, right?
Well, it's almost like that concept of like, well, any press is good press. And it's like they're believing in it so much that like all those dislikes are still good for me somehow.
Well, if you...
Well, it gets your attention, right? And
if so much attention.
If that's the end goal, then it fucking works.
If you put it into the, say on YouTube, right? People make money on YouTube based on viewership.
Yeah. So that would make so much money, right? Yeah.
So the more attention you have, the more people are engaged with your content, the more views it gets, the more money you make. So, and if that becomes your motivating factor, right? Getting more views, maybe you do shit that a year ago you would have cringed at yourself.
Yeah. This is where the age group thing fucks me up too though, right? Like I'll see people in the comments like, keep doing what you're doing, I absolutely loved that video, I was laughing out loud and stuff. I'm like, there was nothing in that video that made me even chuckle, let alone laugh out loud. So then like, you click around a little bit and realize like there's a lot of like 13-year-old kids that are following this person, or when they say, oh, I love you so much, I love every content, I'm like, so happy to see you posting every day, or whatever. It's just, these are just like, I don't know, totally different. They go to school every day, they got plenty of time, and so it gets really confusing now. I hate to sound old and stuff like that, but it's like, fuck, like, I don't really remember a time when you could put something out there in the world and get so much feedback back.
Well, it's instant now, right? Like if you look back, even back when we were growing up, right? Like television was still prevalent, and that was relatively, a quick channel for advertising and things like this to be messages to be passed through that medium to people across the world.
Yep.
But it's a fucking different game now. Like the internet is just like king, in terms of instantaneous and reach. It touches everyone who has a fucking phone.
You can target so much easier. Gary Vee does good talks about this. He's like, well, when he grew up, the advantage for him over everybody else in the audience is that he had internet and didn't have internet. So he's got two minds.
Yeah.
And he's got that mind of like, well, the big three, print, radio, and television. And he was good at advertising then. But now with the internet, he's even better. And so it's fascinating, yeah. I don't know, I just think when I watch his talks, he makes it sound so easy. Like, he makes you feel like an idiot for not advertising on the internet. Because for $50, you could target people directly at a certain age group and location. But $50 won't get you anything on a print ad, or a print ad might cost $5,000
for a cheap one, man.
Right, and then you find out the exact distribution, and it's like the exact distribution is way lower than how many magazines they make, because they don't sell as many mags, and all of them get sent back to the publisher. So it's like, fuck, this is gone crazy,
Yeah, like if you compare like that, if you have any idea about, or you've been in advertising and know what the costs were.
So expensive.
Because I have been in marketing during that period when it was print, TV, radio, right?
Yeah.
Like, one, you're putting it out there and there's no feedback.
No.
Right?
No.
No one tells you what they think of the TV ad.
No.
Or they couldn't, and they couldn't. You don't know people reading the newspaper, if they saw it, flick past it, what they thought about it, none of that. And you're paying, a lot of times exorbitant amounts of money for that. Just run tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Totally.
People running TV,
You don't even know
TV spots, campaigns, man, spending millions of dollars on placements, right? Whereas now, like you said, you spend $50, you spend $20, you spend $5.
I know.
Right?
You can get stats as well.
Yeah, man. And you're in contact.
Feedback.
And you've got their details.
Yeah.
And you can retarget them. So you've got all this data based on their interactions and how they, say for example, you can target people that view 75% of a video.
Yeah.
Right? You go, someone who's watched 75% of this exact video that talks about this thing, now show them this video.
Yeah, fucking hell. The thing is, I don't use it though. Like with ZEN, right? If I do a $50 boost on a shop post, within minutes I make sales and make that $50 back. So my business partners at the time were like, well, fuck, let's advertise every week. And so we were doing that, and it was working really well. Then I'm just like, at some point I just stopped it because fuck it.
Like where was it? Fuck it.
I don't know, man. I think for a while there, I just felt like I was just selling too much product to people that didn't even represent the brand well. So a lot of it had to do with that. It was just like, fuck, I don't want this brand to get so big. I don't want all these randoms watching an ad.
Man, it always comes down to what is your motivation?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You're bang on. Like for me, it's like, okay, if I was doing a business where I just wanted to sell t-shirts and make money off it, then fuck, man, I'm gonna pour my money into. I'll do a Facebook ad a day. Link it up to Instagram and do all that. And it's like, you watch the sales coming. Literally, as soon as I hit post, 3 minutes later there'd be a sale. Oh, there's my $50 back. So it does work.
It definitely works.
It definitely works, but it's like with our podcast, for example. like we could advertise the podcast for $50, and then like the thing is like, I suppose it's not a product. Like with the t-shirts, you're selling a t-shirt, you're selling a product, you're making that $50 back. So with the podcast, it's like, for me, I would pay to get more viewers so that feedback is gold to me, right? Like Shaun, our podcast is really well to the point where I still get messages every now and then from people that just like stumble upon it and just go, fuck, that was great conversation. They got a lot out of it, you know? And I'm like, cha-ching, makes my
Like that's
day.
your form of payment.
Yeah, that's like,
that
fuck.
you enjoy.
It wasn't just a like,
Yeah.
it wasn't just it's more than a like. It's like someone sat down, bothered to send me some feedback.
Yeah.
But then is that sustainable? You know, boosting shit just to get heaps of good comments, like, is that vain in a weird way? Or is that, you know, it's like, it's all questionable.
Like Les said, it comes down to motivation, right?
Mm.
So some people, they do businesses because of the lifestyle it enables them to live. Some people do it because they want that feedback, right? Whereas other people do it because they want to make money.
Yeah.
So, you know, for you with Zen, it would be like, you just mentioned you didn't want the brand to get so big. And I hear you saying because people weren't representing it the way or people were wearing the t-shirts or had your merchandise that didn't represent your brand. So it sounds to me like how and who represents your brand is important to you.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas other people that sell t-shirts, they try to create a brand to sell t-shirts. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the motive. It's like, I need to create this brand so that I can sell merch and make money off the merch.
Yeah.
Whereas for you, the motivation is completely reversed. Do you know what I mean?
Totally, man. But I mean, that doesn't stop me from cringing over other brands. Like that's the thing. I'm pretty vocal, right? So like like I said earlier, I do watch some gamers that have channels on YouTube that do really well. They've got heaps of followers, heaps of fans, and like of course, one of the first things they do is release merch, t-shirts.
Yeah.
And it's like they're putting their names on t-shirts really big, on fonts really big. I'm like, who the fuck wants to go around with Justin Fox on their fucking chest? Like why doesn't that even pop into their heads? Like, why would I buy that? Like, you're giving me a reason to, okay, fair enough, I enjoy your videos, I want to support you, but I'm not gonna fucking wear your name on my chest, bro.
Like you
Like, I want it, yeah. I just don't get it. Like, why do that? Like, it's so weird.
It's almost like uniform, man. You think about people who buy like sporting merch and have like wear their favorite players.
Right, same shit.
It's sort of
it's
like
the fandom thing.
It's the fandom thing, man. Like Shaun always talks about, like he always talks to me because like, you know, we've known each other for ages and like, especially earlier in our friendship, like I was a big sports watcher and he just didn't understand it. You know, he was just like, how do people get so invested in something that means fuck all to them? You know, but people do.
There's all types of people out there, right? This is the world, right? Like, you know, when we talk about the modern world, it's kind of like my constant need to try to accept people of all walks of life. It's so stretched thin. It's like, man, if I accepted more people, I'm just gonna burst, right? Like, I don't know. Like, that's why I have such an issue with leaving constructive, negative comments on people because it's touchy.
Because not everyone
right?
can take it.
Right, it's touchy, right? And I don't want to be that person that, you know, like sometimes we all have a friend, sometimes we're such good friends that tell you something that just like fucks you up. like with Viv the other day, I accidentally sort of said to her like, you walk really stiff. And now she's like taking dance classes, she's getting all these those pins and needles put in it so that I loosen her body up. I'm like, fuck, what have I done? Like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to open up a can of worms and make you so self-conscious about something that is just, you're just walking from A to B, you know? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be that guy that's necessarily, like in the past, I wanted to be that guy. I want to be like, drop a bomb on you and like, oh fuck. I've been looking at things maybe wrong or something. Maybe I can, you know, get inspired by that. But now it's kind of like, man, is it worth it? I don't want to be this negative creep, you know, that says something that like, you know, fuck someone's day or make them think differently.
Yeah, man.
So it's difficult. It's like that walking that line of like, do you, in your soul and heart, know that I would help people by being more real, or do you almost look at like some of these positive quotes that come out of just like fuck people's opinions. They're just, you know, all this stuff about people's opinions. So then you're one of those people that give, in your opinion, a positive opinion to help people. But then there are enough people out there that are like, just look at the comments.
Yeah.
They're all fucking opinions. And it's all shit, I'm just gonna fucking ignore it all.
Well, for me, it's a very simple way to look at it for me, right? Is that if people come and ask for help, then you can give them that, you know, metaphorical slap in the face, you know?
Great,
But if they don't ask for it, then it's cool. Like, you know, similar to the quote thing as well, you know, you look at my Finding Space page, it's filled with quotes.
Yeah.
But if you want to read it, you read it. If you don't, cool as well. I'm not fucking shoving it down your throat.
What about the people that comment on, like with the Zen tips, same shit, right? They're like positive quotes. And there's always that one fucker that's like, no, that's wrong. Da-da-da-da-da.
There always will be, because nothing is absolutely right. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's contextual in every single fucking, you know, aspect of life. Like, you can say something and I'll look at it from a completely different angle, and we're both right. You know?
Yep. You both have that valid point.
But that's the point for me. I'm like, look, that's why, like, a lot of the time the stuff that I say is never like very direct. It's very like wafty and you know, grey. It's open for interpretation.
Yeah.
And whatever you take from it, you take from it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I meant that, maybe I didn't. But you know, if it incited you like some sort of, you know, curiosity within you, I done my job. And cool, that's it. You know.
Let's talk about True North. So I stumbled upon this because I think I follow you on YouTube, so it came up and I saw something that was it's not my favorite stuff when you're using like sort of footage of other people, and then that as a designer and stuff, I'm like cringe a little, but hey, I love you guys, so listen to the whole thing. And it sounds cool. It sounds like you guys are obviously working together on a podcast and have for a while, but this sounds a little bit more of an extension where someone can help themselves by listening to some, as you say, pots of gold in the podcast, bits of gold in there. Like, this is more like a sharper, focused thing that you guys are doing. So you guys want to talk about that briefly? Because I haven't looked into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like, it pretty much started off as a text message. Like, I just shot Shaun a message, and I remember we looked back, like, on the day we launched, we're like, when did we, you know, even come up with this idea? And it was in, like, mid-August 2020, which is like, and I just shot Shaun a message and said, hey, do you want to create this program? And, you know, by, I think last week, in early Jan, we launched it. So just over 4-ish months, we sort of put something together, but really it's just an immersive program that we're holding, that Shaun and I are co-facilitating, to help people find a bit more clarity and direction in life, you know. That's essentially the crux of it. And
how long does the program go for?
It's a 6-week program.
Oh.
And it's each
Damn,
week.
that's long.
Yeah, each week there's one 90-minute session over Zoom.
Okay.
Which, you know, obviously we've curated some content and material and things like this where Shaun and I will co-facilitate, have some exercises in between sessions, and like I said, the goal of it in the end is to have like a really nice interactive group.
So it's a group thing?
Group thing.
Right.
So we're opening cohorts and, you know, maximum of 10. We want a relatively small group so it can be quite intimate and feel that way, and not so much like a lecture or something like this. You know, we want interaction.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really just to guide people to have a better sense of what they feel they want in life and want to do, and maybe set them on the course to, you know, possibly reaching that.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It's like it's something sounds similar to what Jasper's kind of doing. Jasper, who I have on the podcast, and he's doing something similar about helping people find their purpose. Which I think it's a running thing, right? Like, it's, you know, obviously so many more people are coming out and saying they've lost their way. Because of this modern world that you're talking about, it's easier for people to even sense someone online or a friend of theirs losing their way.
Yeah.
but there are really no solutions, right? Like, you know, it's not like someone can say to you, oh, this is how you fix it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. There is no magic pill, and I guess this is something that we are very explicit about in terms of, informing people about, like, straight up, if you're looking for magic pill formula of some sort, then we're not the guys, to hit up, really.
But you're still offering something in a situation where it's a big hole, like the thing is, like, the age discussion thing comes back into this again, because just say someone's like 13 and they feel like they need to find their purpose. Who knows? This shit's happening right now.
Yeah.
It's like the stuff that they're consuming on YouTube might not just be fun and games. A lot of it could be quite mature, actually.
The age thing in that context is interesting because I do believe there's different stages of your life, and certain things are appropriate for you at a certain stage and age of your life. Right? Like, I don't think it's really appropriate to be talking to a 12-year-old about existential crises.
Or even 16, or even 15, 16. I just think maybe
you should just be a kid.
Right. But then you hear about these kids on medication, and you hear a lot of them are getting antidepressants and stuff. So, it's pretty whack. Like, if they're on antidepressants, I mean, what's that going to do to your brain development and all this stuff? Like, life is hard when you're a kid, right? So we just all kind of dealt with it. But who knows? Maybe the way we dealt with it wasn't necessarily good either. So.
But the thing with this, and it sort of speaks to, I guess, the angle that Shaun and I come with this, and it's like we each lead from the experiences that we've had, the life experience that we've had, and what we've proactively gone and sought as learnings and lessons and applied, That's the difference here. Like, I don't think, and I always, like, and Shaun feels the same way, I think we don't like this title of life coach and things like this. Again, there is no magic formula in my mind. Everyone that comes to me, even for my mentorship, they will ask me, like, what's the program look like? Show me the structure. I'm like, look, it depends on who you are and what I feel you may need as guidance, and that's all I'm here for. I'm here to sort of just hold your hand and guide you, and depending on which direction it seems to me you want to point, and that's the key here in my mind. Like, it's the answers are always, like, within us in terms of where we want to go, and, like, you can take that as fucking airy-fairy as you like, but I truly believe that, right? Like, we don't need anything else but what's within ourselves. But the fact of the matter is, the world outside of us is a very distracting place. It is what it is, instantaneous information, and there is, like, volume as well as speed, right? So it's hard to discern what is truly what we want and where we truly want to go. Sometimes we need guidance for that,
It's nearly impossible.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mentor people, but I too still have a mentor, and I feel this is still something that is very necessary until the day we die, really, and that's my view on it, right? And that's why
it's like chipping away, right? Like, as long as you're chipping away and seem to be headed in a good direction or north, headed in the right direction, then
what feels like a nice direction for yourself, what I mean? And that's
right.
That's what I think the key is, right? Is, like, you mentioned don't like these titles of life coach and all things like that. It's because when Les sent me that text message, initially he was like, do you want to do this program? I was like, dude, I don't want any sense of people thinking that I want to be a guru or something like that, right? Because that sort of position that people find themselves wanting to be in or aspire to be, I feel it's about your ego and your grandeur of it, and you be wanting to be seen as this authority on something, right?
Yeah.
Whereas that's not my intention. I know that's not Les's intention.
Yeah.
We've had these experiences in our lives, and we've sought out, like I said, proactively ways to improve different areas of our life, right? And over that time, we've culminated these experiences, we've culminated these learnings, and we've just done things that have worked for us. We've also done things that haven't worked for us, so we know what doesn't work for us. And we feel like we can help people to find their direction and where they want to go, right? Using these different concepts and frameworks and things that have worked for us, right? So you also mentioned, like, oh, what if a 13-year-old comes and says, well, want to find their purpose, right? Our true north is application only, right? You can't just put down your credit card details and you're in the program.
Right.
That's not how it runs.
That's cool.
Right? There's questions that we ask you, you have to respond to us, and that we both go over and look at, right? To work out if we feel that the guidance that we know we can provide is suitable for you and is actually going to help you or not, right? For us, it's not about let's sell as many copies of this course as we can.
Right.
One, because it's not like a copy course where it's just like you get this ebook and here you go and then we'll run you through it. That's not what it is.
It's tailored,
Yeah, it really is tailored, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, it's about helping people find their direction, which is why it's called True North. Everybody has their own compass, right? And we feel like we've been through certain situations, learnings, all of that stuff, right? Just life up to this point that we've lived. That has yielded us with these frameworks and things that we use to keep us moving in the direction that we really, truly, internally feel we want to be heading in.
Yeah.
That's the difference, I feel, right?
How do you guys tackle the issue of responsibility? Like, just out of curiosity, like, you know, as a graphic designer in the past, it took me a long time to realize how responsible I was. You know, I could blame the person above me for doing that graphic for that company. But as you guys know, as you become more experienced in life, you reassess things, and you know, even as a graphic designer and a mentor to some, it was always scary to offer advice. Even graphic design advice was scary to offer. Like, just advice in general is like, I try to personally avoid giving people advice, like inspire them through your actions, but try not to offer advice. So like, I mean, just curious, like how do you guys deal with the responsibility of setting someone on a better path?
Well, it comes back to, again, like if you've come to us, right, and you've gone through the whole process of applying, you've seen something of worth, you trust us to some degree.
You really like what you see.
You trust us to some degree.
Right.
But as well as that, right, in terms of like how we operate, there is a big focus in one of our modules about accountability and responsibility. We really want to bestow that on the people who enter the program as well. Like, if you don't take responsibility for your own shit and own it like 100%, like unequivocally, then you know that again, you've already like you've not sort of living by the values of what we're teaching.
You already got it wrong. Like, it's not it's a prerequisite, right, for people to
100%.
Look, I just think with a lot of this stuff, like for example, when I'm still smoking cigarettes and I would love to quit. Mentally, I already know that, it'd be awesome if I could quit, you know. And I spoke to Kaizen, who were like hypnotherapy and can help me quit smoking. And then I met up with him and he was like, yeah, for sure, man, I'm totally down to help you. But then, you know, we had lunch and stuff, had a few beers, and at the end of that day hanging out with him, which was a great day, by the way, did some meditation, all that stuff. And then at the very end of it goes, well, like, I'll help you so long as when you're truly ready, Justin, when you're truly ready to want to do this, I'll be there for you. And then that changed everything for me. Because like, the whole day was like, oh yeah, well fuck, all I have to do is just hang out with this guy and I'll be fixed. You know? Like hypnotherapy, fucking yeah, bro, do it. Do your magic. I'll come out of an hour or two session, I'm like, woo! Never touch a cigarette ever again. And because Indy, my mechanic, it's like he's been a smoker ever since I've known him. He's a chain smoker, man. It's like it comes with being a mechanic, an old school mechanic. Your hands are fucking greasy, your head's in an engine bay all day, you're just constantly puffing. And he goes, I did a session with Indy for an hour or two, and Indy's never touched a cigarette ever again. I'm like, fuck. So that's not marketing slang, but that's the strongest marketing slang there is for me. It's like, wow, I know that guy. I know he's a chain smoker. Wow, he doesn't smoke anymore? Impossible.
Proof of product, man.
Yeah, so that's like, I'll put that on the fucking billboard, man. You know, like that is all I needed to inspire me to go, fuck, I'm gonna give this a go. But like I said, at the very end of hanging out with him, it wasn't as easy as like right, let's do this 2-hour session and I'll be just like Indy.
Yeah.
So it's like, Justin, when you're ready, and I'm just like, damn.
But that's what it is, Justin.
Yeah,
right?
and that's what I wanted to say. That's what I'm talking about. That's what you're saying.
That's
with
the
the
difference.
responsibility.
100%.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. It's like, I think there's this gap, right? There's this gap, right? Of, okay, so here's your product, and it's already a hard sell. It's a harder thing to sell than a t-shirt, right? So it's like, I know a lot of people would find it very difficult to bridge that gap. So it's, and then we also talked about it's very easy to identify people that could benefit from this program. It's obvious to me. I can already think of 5 people that would benefit from your program. But it's like bridging that gap is the hard bit.
Yeah. Well, it's also, so you were saying you spent that whole day with Kaizen and you were like, cool man, this guy will be able to do it and then it'll change for you.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
To me, it feels like maybe you thought he just had that bullet for you. It's like that essentially guru mentality, like he knows how to do this, which is like, that's why people have a guru, right? It's because they know the way. And that was my...
Show me the way.
Yeah, that was my initial hesitation when they asked me about doing the program. I'm like, I don't want people to see me like that, right?
Well,
Let how Les wants,
I understand.
and only because I don't want you to believe for yourself. I don't want you to believe that there is just a formula I'm going to give you, like a bullet, and then you get what you think you want. The process is about uncovering what you actually want, right? And
you got to put the work in.
And that is best done, in my opinion, from being guided.
Right.
Not
because for some people it's so hard to even begin to put the work in, right?
It's not about standing on a stage and being like, this is what you do to have this life that's excellent, and this is what's going to make you happy. I don't know what's going to make you happy.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to think that I have that answer for you.
Yeah, of course.
It's not the truth.
Yeah.
That's not the truth, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where people slip up for themselves, in helping themselves, is that they think someone has like the answer.
Well, I think it's like a very easy and relatable example, like that's prevalent now, especially now more than ever. It's like, our physical health, right? You think about, everyone knows to a general degree what is, quote unquote good for them, in terms of like your diet, your exercise, all that sort of shit. But how many people who actually know then will convert that into action and do it, right? That's the bridging of the gap.
Like we all know what's good and bad for us.
Yeah.
We all know when you're eating Maccas that this probably isn't good for me.
Yeah, exactly.
We all know, but it's like the helping yourself bit. See, it's almost like there needs to be a bridge within a bridge. It's like, I get it, like it's almost like, I hate to put my business head on, but it's like, well, here's the customer and here's the service, and then boom, but it's like, I know it's not that easy, because to try to get someone to help themselves enough to even reach out is only the beginning, right? It's nothing. It's easy to want help. But then like, even what you're offering might not necessarily help if someone's not helped themselves enough to be open, to be ready for change.
Well, that's half the work.
But it's so difficult. It's so difficult. So this is like, I hate to get so real, but this is as real as it gets, really, when you're talking about like, like when I was a weed smoker and I was seeing therapists and stuff, like they were like, oh Justin, you really should stop smoking weed, by the way. I mean, it would help. And I'm like, yeah, fuck, no, there's no way. I fucking love Mary Jane. I'm gonna have a solid relationship with her till the day I die. I'm gonna keep smoking till I'm old and grey. I was so sure of it. And just thinking back on those conversations with therapists when I got upped up, I would have got upped up. I was like in the depths of bipolar and like absolutely uncontrollable sometimes. So I would remember now how they used to skirt around it, just go, oh right, yeah, we'll get to that later. We'll work on other things first. And then now, in retrospect, I'm like, yeah, fucking oath I needed to get off smoking that much weed, because that was the reason why I was so crazy. But they couldn't help me. I had to figure that out. It took ages to get there, even though they kept trying.
Yep.
And saying, Justin, I know, this is awesome rehab place. It's in Byron. It's your style. It's going to be super cool. You know, there's one in Bondi. It's like, you know, they had rock stars there. Whatever angles they tried, nothing was working because I was so stubborn. No fucking way I'm going to quit smoking weed. There's no way. You're not going to make me break up with Mary Jane. But now in retrospect, I'm like, yeah, fucking oath, they were on the right path. They were trying to show me the door.
Yeah.
But I was having none of it. So you can look at that analogy as the same thing of someone trying to find their purpose, but they're not really at a position to not deserve it, but they're not in a position to even try to find their purpose.
Yeah.
Even though they're like, oh my god, I wish I was into something. I want to get out of this job because I fucking hate it, but I'm not good at anything. Or, you know, there's so many people like that.
Yeah.
But it's like for them to do the work that's needed in order for you guys to help them, it's almost like there's a bridging course there.
Well, I see it's like you can't see something if your eyes aren't open.
Yeah.
You know, and you need to open your eyes.
Right, but it's like how do you help people? You know,
put it this way.
That's what this is what I'm finding fascinating, because like when I watch your videos, it's always like, yeah, you nail it on the head. Like there's so much noise out there. It's so, yeah, we all know that, but it's like, fuck, how do I help myself?
Let me put it this way. Sometimes, right, people need to stumble. Sometimes people need to stumble for themselves to come to a point. And like, you know, I'll hit you with some Eastern philosophy because that's my jam, right? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear, right? And the ready part is that bridging, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that.
The bridging part is perhaps sometimes about a certain, like, you know, rock bottom or trauma that, you know, forces you. You hit a point where you are forced, you know. And like, you know, we talk about, I think everyone on this table has felt that trauma and that rock bottom to some degree, where it's all different and it's not, you know, comparable by any means. Like, you know, I talk about mine as cancer.
Yep.
I was exactly the same way, you know. I thought I was the fucking king shit, you know, high-flying corporate, making lots of money, all that sort of stuff, and doing really well in life, quote unquote. But I knew I wasn't happy, you know. That's why I always bring up this, you know, quote from Morpheus about having a splinter in my mind. And you remember this when we first caught up again, you know, that I had it there, but I would just, I ignored it because I didn't want to face those hard questions until
Put the work in. You knew that. You knew this wasn't like an easy solution. You knew it already. Like,
I sought escape.
Yeah.
Through drugs, I tried antidepressants, I drank a lot, all that sort of stuff, right? Until cancer popped on my door and said, hey, you better wake the fuck up and do something about your life, you know? And perhaps sometimes people need that to happen, unfortunately, some sort of, you know, traumatic experience that makes them feel like they're at rock bottom.
See, I go on about that all the time too. Like for me, it all started when my dad passed away, right? So that all was just such a huge situation in my life where I made a life decision. And I was 18, but it's like, I don't think you're too young if you have such a traumatic experience that you have to make a decision. You can't, I mean, it just forces you to, you know, like, you're like, it's a wake-up call, right? It's such a big wake-up call that you're like, you know, fuck, he died at like my age that I am now, so I'm like, well, fuck, I better fucking get busy doing what the fuck I want to do in life, because I'm probably going to die at 47 as well, right? So I'm like, holy shit, I've got a deadline. And that gave me, in essence, in retrospect, the confidence to do everything that I've done.
Yeah.
You know, so it's funny, like even with a few younger people that I've reached out to recently to do a podcast with me, they're like instantly, oh no fucking way, I don't think I could ever do that. I'm too shy, I don't know. But then like, you know, I don't feed into it. I'm like, yeah, you're cool, no big deal. And then the next day or two, they'll be like, actually, give it some thought. Might do it. I'm like, that's the way. You know, like that's it.
Man.
That's it. You know, you're not going to be good at something straight off the bat. You got to put the blood, sweat, tears in, the work in, right? So these the sad thing about it is like a lot of these people that I'm talking about right now, they have had traumatic experiences, but I don't think they made those decisions. Like, not everyone can have a traumatic experience and then all of a sudden use it in a way to excel and to figure shit out. But I do agree with you that sadly, I do think it's sad that like you probably can't get to a Morpheus matrix sort of open-minded state until you put yourself through the ringer somehow.
Well, something has to open your eyes, man.
Yeah, and
That's why I mentioned the thing you can't see until your eyes are open, and everyone's eyes are open to different things and in different ways.
I hate that saying though. Is like I hate saying that like. I hate like agreeing with you and same thing that I always preach to people, not preach but it's like I always say to people like, oh fuck it, if you've had a traumatic experience that really helped you just figure shit out quicker, you know? But I hate that like...
It needs to get to that point.
Right. So it's almost like, you know, I would hate for the bridging course to be like, we're gonna fuck you up so that you
We
can
talk about
figure
this
it
all the time,
But-
and I don't think it needs to be necessarily, right? I keep talking about this open your eyes thing, and it's because it's like say you had your eyes closed, right? Some people hear a loud sound and they open their eyes. That could be someone saying something in a way that really strikes your soul.
resonates with
And
them
then
somehow.
now the eyes are open, you start searching, right? You can see other things around you that you can pull in to your experience. Some people, if your eyes are closed and you're walking, you might trip and hit your head really hard, right? You can't avoid it. Like, it just shocks your eyes open, and you see what's going on. It's like, open up, oh shit, I'm really hurt, right?
Yeah.
And you notice it. The opening your eyes part is like seeing what's happening in your life, what's happening around you. And people open their eyes differently, right? So that might be, you listen to podcasts and then one day someone says something and it's just, shit, you get it.
I almost don't see that as the same level though. Like honestly, like you can watch a podcast, right, or you can listen to music and it'll bring you down to tears or whatever, right? But like if you're a fucking parent, guys, it's like fuck. Like
they're not on the same level. They're not on the same level.
It's
Definitely not. But my point is that people essentially wake up in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they start seeking. That's the point.
Yeah,
right? It's like you need to open your eyes.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to see, right? To be able to seek.
I think the point is that, like, you know, trauma again, like it's like on a spectrum, you know, and there's different degrees to it. And outside of that itself, that trauma is subjectively, you know, analysed by every individual as well. You know,
100%.
Do you know what I mean? Like my experience of cancer might be very different to someone else's experience of cancer, and it might even fall on the same level of someone stubbing their toe, for example. You know, far-fetched, but I'm painting a picture here, right?
Right.
Just to say that there is like subjectivity to it. So any trauma can incite a level of like, you know, quote-unquote awakening. It's just based on your level of attention to what is going on around you. Like Shaun said, like, you know, are you listening? Are you hearing? Are you seeing what is going on around you? Are you being aware of your surroundings and what is actually happening in your life? Or is essentially living within, you know, the stories that you're telling yourself in your mind? You know, they're very different. And like, you know, again, it can be very easy to be caught in those stories to feel like they are, you know, the reality that you live. But, you know, again, it's a level of awareness to whatever is happening, and sometimes these we necessarily need, like myself, I necessarily needed that traumatic experience to shock me.
Like you didn't know you needed it until it happens, but like now you're...
I don't know if this is still recording.
Oh shit, you kidding me?
It's not on red.
You are kidding me?
When did that
As in, not on red what?
As it's like just 000.
Oh, you're kidding me.
What happens when you press it again?
Press it.
Press it. Card full.
Oh.
Oh, fuck. You see, this happens, guys. This happens with old school tech.
Did you notice when...
I just looked down there and I was like...
Because I have been looking at just to make sure the lights are on, but... This happens, man. This happens.
So should we chuck another card in and just resume?
Yeah.
And you can just paste it back.
Yeah, of course. But that just sucks.
I just don't know how long.
We don't know. Like, and the card, I wiped the entire card, so I'm assuming it would be a decent amount. Like, I wiped the entire card How long have we been speaking for? It doesn't feel long.
Over an hour.
Like
An hour?
Yeah.
Oh man. That's the same card that I use. Maybe because there's 3 audio tracks, right?
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Oh my god, what a motherfucker. Yeah, that's exactly why. It's because there's 3 audio tracks.
Alright, well,
So that was the beginning to life.
It's your job now.
Was it full? The card was full, so I guess we can't show it again.
It's your job now, Shaun. So yeah, I don't know. I should check the camera too. That's still recording. My god. All right, so we're back. We had a hiccup there where the memory card on the Zoom unit got full. But hey, I think I cursed it by saying something's gonna go wrong.
Maybe you just manifested.
I manifested it. Yeah, my manifestation powers
But
are
now you
so
know,
strong.
3 audio tracks on an SD card fill up very fast.
Yeah, so I've got to chuck in big cars and So yeah, Shaun, you have a job now.
I do have a job now.
Glance down at the unit.
You guys were talking, and I was like, I didn't want to stop it because I'm like, if this is somehow still recording, I'm really liking what we're talking about, and you're spitting some awesome.
Or maybe
truth.
there's some there's a section of it that is
the audio will still be on that.
Audio, that whatever. There's still
Actually,
a
yeah,
section of
that
it.
gives me more video editing to do, but I'm sure I can figure it out.
Yeah.
There will be audio
You
from
can
that.
find some new editing
Skills.
tricks.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
But so we don't, let's just keep going forward anyway. But like I think I love this conversation of like I often say to people, no, I don't even say to people. I often judge people by not necessarily just age, but yeah, experiences, right? So if you've gone through something traumatic, chances are that if we sit down and have a D&M of any sort, it's going to come out pretty early. Maybe because you like, as an individual, you're a confident person, you like to share that up front so that you can get all the small talk out of the way and get straight into a respectable, we're both on a same level, mutual level of respect so we can have great conversation. Or whether I'm just the kind of person that will ask the right questions because I don't really want to get to that just so that I know whether we can have a good conversation for the rest of the night or not.
Yeah.
You know, so I've used that as a gauge in many ways of whether someone's really worth investing time into. Like I spent many, countless hours helping people who were not at that level. They hadn't had any traumatic experiences. They're like babies still, learning how to walk. And I've helped them on their journey, you know, motivated them or inspired them. But it's always more exciting and more rewarding for myself to work with someone who has gone through a traumatic experience in their life or something like that. It's like I feel like we're more on the same page.
Yeah.
You know, so I hate to be judging, but I just can't help it. You know, so it's like I would prefer to work with people who are like a bit damaged. You know, like there's a lot of quotes out there that are like, well, the strongest people are the ones that overcome trauma and something, as opposed to the person who's never had trauma. And I read those quotes almost in a derogatory way. It's almost like you're saying like, well, fuck all these people that haven't experienced something hard. Well, they're not as good as the people, or they're not as strong as the people.
I'm mindful of that as well. It's like in this current, I guess, landscape of just where we are, right? People like vulnerability and your struggle is your story and all this sort of stuff. And it's kind of like, I feel there'd be some people that think, oh shit, well, I don't have what I would class as a traumatic event. So does that mean I don't have life experience? Does that mean that my opinion is not valid? Does that mean that I don't know how to deal with things? It's kind of like this
exactly what
badge of honor that people are wearing now. And I'm like people want to have the struggle story, or people want to have this vulnerable part to them that may not actually exist. But but like what for? I feel that sometimes, you know what I mean?
Because there's like a comparison there. That's the thing.
Yeah,
There's still this level of comparison there. Like again, when we talk about like the way that we approach the programming, like when we talk about no magic bullets, like no one has walked the same path, and that's important to know. Like my cancer story at the age of 27 is going to be very like, don't wish that it's fucking going to happen to you like by any means or anything like that, right? Like you will experience your own, but if you're not aware to it, then it's not going to happen for you.
That's right.
Okay?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And you don't have to have something that is that big, that like cataclysmic, right?
And that's relative as well.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean.
A lot of people
When
when I share my story, they like get really sad and say I'm sorry, and like
Right.
I wouldn't compare mine. Like, look, don't compare. Like this is my one. Yours, you might have felt your stubbed toe just as bad.
Yeah.
And that's fine. As long as it prompted you to go into the right direction that you feel is right for you, then sweet. I don't give a fuck what it is. You know what I mean?
I think ultimately, this whole like there's every type of person in the world. There's not one shoe that fits all, whatever. That's ultimately what fucks my head over the most. Because even though I'm a confident person based on all my experiences, there's still like going way back to the beginning of our conversation. It's like, well, there's still someone that can prove your positive quote wrong and interpret it in a negative way, and there's no rights and wrongs.
Yeah.
So then, like, if there's no black and whites, there's no rights and wrongs, then how do you even begin to navigate life?
There is your own.
But there are some
even your own though, even we know that like the you before cancer wasn't necessarily wrong.
No,
it was just which is different.
It was the necessary steps that I needed to take to get to where I am right now, right? And like I think that the best thing that we can do and think about, in my opinion, right, is to see what is similar about all of us. I'm talking about first principles before the identities, the roles, the society, the civilization. First principles are we are just plain human beings who are intellectual, sentient beings, right? And we sort of just want to survive and potentially evolve and grow. And that's the base of it, right? And you can construe that however you like from an individual standpoint. Those are extra layers of complexity that make up like an individual. But first principles, always the same for everyone. If you don't eat, you're gonna fucking die. If you don't drink water, you're gonna dehydrate, you're gonna die. That sort of thing. Like, if you can relate it back to first principles, then it becomes much, not even clearer, right? At least there is a semblance of, maybe this is your baseline for what is, quote unquote, right or wrong, or good or bad for you,
Right.
Yeah, that's what there's universal shit, right? Like let's say first principles, and that's where there's things that have worked much better than things that haven't worked en masse.
You guys have heard of the people who believe that you don't need anything but air, right? It's like, you haven't done any research into that?
I believe it. It's out there.
Well, I forget exactly what they're called. They're not like airists or something. It's something like that. Like they call themselves something.
I think I've heard something about it. I haven't read too much about it, but yeah.
There's still to this day thousands of people who practice it. There's people on YouTube that, there's lots of gurus that have been found out. They were caught, because in this day and age there's cameras everywhere. So they got found out they were eating some chicken somewhere. But there's literally the gurus traveling around the world saying, I haven't eaten for 15 years. I haven't eaten a single bit of food. I haven't drank water for 15 years or 20 years. People were like trying to relate it to the sun gives you energy and that's all you need. And more recently, an old lady decided to start a YouTube channel where she wanted to try the program, and people in the comments were like, "This is suicide. You're killing yourself. Fucking eat something." But she didn't. She had candles all over the house, but it didn't cover every corner. So even the amount of days that she didn't eat for, people were a bit suspect. Like she must have eaten something. Or 60 Minutes and a few people in the past have had some of these gurus on the show and had doctors on standby, and like one guy fainted like a few days in. And his argument was like they stopped the show early, and they're like, yeah, they stopped it because you're fucking killing yourself. But they stopped it early, and I was doing fine, and like still did 15 days. It's like, well, that's not the point. 15 days. You're saying you don't need it at all forever. So there's, it's interesting. There's like even some people trying to question, like, as human beings, yeah, we need to eat, we need to drink.
Man, look.
But it's like people saying, like, don't eat vegetables because we're hunters. We should be eating meat. Oh, whatever.
That's the thing. To me, that's why it's so good to take the stance, in my opinion, of there is no right and wrong, and we don't know everything, and we can never know anything. And that's why it puts you in the position of being, I guess, open, at the very least, and a student, like, as long as you live. Because, like, in my opinion, like, no matter how fucking outlandish that may sound, I'm not going to share my opinions on this, these people who survive on air, because I just simply don't know enough, and I don't care to want to know enough to then try and disprove them one way or another.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, right, it's naive of me as an individual to think and like cast judgment on someone else who, vehemently thinks that this is like true for them,
I think it's almost like, the two ants, and then they touch their antlers, and they like have a little figuring out whether we're on the same wave. Are we tuning to the same frequency so we can actually converse, It's almost like, if you truly are open-minded and someone comes at you with like, yeah, you don't need to fucking eat or drink, and you've known that for your whole life that you needed to, but if you're open-minded, well, you're willing to at least entertain a conversation, maybe, if they came across as like not trying to bamboozle you, right? So it's like that, we're always hunting for this equal level to converse at. So if we know a lot about a particular subject and you meet someone who doesn't, you don't just sit there and show off with big words about this thing that you know, because they're just going to go, what the fuck are you talking about? Right? So I think life for me is more about like using all those traumatic experiences and stuff to know that I can run into someone that's trying to put a knife in my throat and I can survive this, because that's another fucking human being. And I'm going to talk my way out of this, human to human. Or I'm just going to meet a complete stranger or whatever. Sit down on the airplane with someone and just have a conversation with them, and I know confidently that I can have a good one with an Uber driver, with anyone, right? And I think, very generally speaking, but I think that level of confidence and open-mindedness is what a lot of people that I meet would just love to have. Like I get weird questions, but they're all the same question. Like, how is it that you're so into what you're into so that you're doing what you're doing? It's like, there's no other way for me. It's like, I can choose to sit here in silence for 30, 40 minutes in the Uber, or I can just start asking questions and just next thing you know, you're talking about their kids and something that makes them happy, and like that at the end of it, they're like, fucking thanks, bro, for the conversation. That was awesome. Have a good day, man. Or I could just, be completely silent, not say a fucking thing. So it's like, but that's that confidence that I have, and that you guys obviously have too, is something that ultimately I've found in life is what people want. It's not necessarily the purpose, because that's such a big question. And it's like, you're saying like nothing matters, nothing's right or wrong in the end. Like in our first podcast, we talked about this guru that hops on a show, and it's like where they had all these celebrities before. This guru goes, "You're not asking the right questions," and it's like, it's so big. His thinking is so, like the Jim Carrey thing. You're nothing. You're just a bunch of molecules or whatever. It's like you start to freak people out when you start talking like that, because you're so confident. But whether it's confidence or not to go and bamboozle someone with your expertise, I think that's not good. I think, everyone's on different levels, but then when you get to a point where you're very confident in yourself as a conversationalist, you can adjust that. Some people are simple, they just want to talk shit. Well, if I can talk shit for half an hour, have a good time. So I find that's what's fascinating. It's like a lot of the stuff that you post is really big-minded, open-minded, and could be potentially quite intimidating for some people that just, we talk about this all the time. Even on our first podcast, like I worry about sometimes when we talk about this kind of shit, people in the comments were just like, these guys are, what the fuck are these guys on? Like, like, fuck it, you guys are fucking hippies, or whatever, Why don't you just talk about cars and V8s and V12s and turbos and, like, I get it. But like, I think generally speaking, I find that like, what people really desire is to get out of their comfort zone, get out of their shell, and like they are their worst critics. They are hindered by insecurities that are so huge that they're like trying to ruin somebody else's day to have a better day. Like a lot of the trolls, a lot of the negative people, they're the people that I find most interesting. It's not like ignore the negative, ignore those guys. Those are the guys that are actually popping up on my radar more, because it's like, well, fuck. It's good, naive to say it, but there's a good chance that there's a good person in everybody, and that person's only being like that because they're naive, Even the young guys that I gang with and stuff like that, they're like, oh fuck, she's hot, or no, I couldn't date her. I tried to set up a date with one, and they're like, oh no, I'm not into her. I'm like, why? Is that because you want to be with like Scarlett Johansson or something? And it's like, it's good to have this conversation, because like, yeah, that's the truth. Yeah, you're right. I'm like, you're fucking shy. You wouldn't even say anything in the first day. He goes, oh yeah, fuck, you're right. I don't mean to be that harsh, but it's like, wake up. Like.
I think what you're talking about, man, and the word that like pops to mind is like just connection, right? Because what a conversation is, it creates a connection between anything, and I'm not even talking about only the medium of speaking, like this conversation. Like we can have an open conversation with our relationship to life, to our relationship to work, our relationship to our vocation, our relationship with our spouse or whoever, our friends. Because what constitutes a conversation? It's not only like one way, right? It's two-way,
100%
and it's open. Yeah. It's not only about speaking; it's about listening, right?
Respect. So respect comes into it too,
right? It's mutual, and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like an effective conversation where there's speaking, sharing openly and honestly, there's listening and hearing, like proper hearing, where it actually drops for you and it resonates with you somehow, right? There's growth that comes out of it, and that again, that works in all contexts in life. Any conversation that you have, like even the conversations that you have with yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like I can say that I do have conversations with myself in different ways. When I meditate, it's a form of conversation with myself. It's not necessarily me talking to myself saying, hey, how's it going? How's your meditation going good? All that sort of thing. But it's just about understanding, like, there's something that's speaking to me, and I'm going to try and listen and hear and interpret what that means, And if that resonates with me in a certain way, then I'll honor that, respect it, and see if it works the way that I wanted it to work, quote unquote. But if it doesn't, then I go back and continue that conversation, so to speak.
Yeah, I think the two-way thing is bang on, and it only happens two ways when there is respect. And so if you're meeting someone that you've never met in your entire life before, you've got like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but you've got to work on respect first. I think respect is super important. And 100% respect is that, right? 100%. So you don't want like someone to just think you're a guru without actually understanding, because a lot of people these days love that. They just love to put someone up there. They love to, but then as soon as that person does wrong, it's like, oh my god, your whole life is affected. It's really weird. It's really weird, right? So it's like, people are definitely in this modern world forgetting that other people are human beings. Like they're definitely forgetting that, man, 100%. And that's what I mean by it's easier for me to hang out with like-minded people because it's easier.
Yeah.
But then it's like, since when was easy the right path, right? It's like, you read these poems in high school that are like, the path less traveled by or whatever, right? And you're like, why would I go down that path? I'd rather just go, because you're young, you don't know yet. But then like now you're like, fucking oath I'm gonna take the path less traveled by, right? So it's fascinating to know that like where people who haven't had the traumatic experience too, or people who are not awake yet, they of course would prefer the easy option, the easy path.
Totally. It's built into us, you know, to lean towards those things that make us feel good. Do you know what I mean?
We all know that once you've gone through something and defeated it and become stronger because of it and wiser, we know that the easy path isn't always the right path.
I think we know that. I don't think we all know that.
Okay, true. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a nice thing to be able to understand that life is hard.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a really beautiful thing that is like, it's not about watching a video and feeling good and just going, so long as I watch that video every day, I'll feel good.
Yeah.
Or this food makes me happy and I'm just going to keep eating this food. And it's not that simple. It's like, I think the don't worry, be happy thing might really have worked in the 80s. But to me, that's just like, ignore it or ignorance or...
Ignorance is bliss.
I think it's bullshit.
Yeah, I think that's what that's what I'm saying. It's like, you're not dealing with anything.
Yeah. So the whole it's the journey, not the destination. Put yourself in uncomfortable situations, do hard shit. It all clicked for me when I realized it's about who you become in doing those things. That's the beauty.
And you don't know what you're going to become
That's what
until
I
you start doing it, right?
Yeah.
So,
but it's not. We all have. Not we all have. A lot of us have this mentality of like, if I do this, I get this. If I do this, I get that, and it's still to get to somewhere. Which is why for someone like me, who was like that, I always had this disconnect and did not resonate with me when people would be like, it's the journey, not the destination. You know,
you just didn't get
stop
it
and
for a
smell
while.
the rest. Yeah, I didn't get it, dude. But when I stopped and reflected, I'm like, it's because in doing those things and in the process of something, you change, right?
Right.
You change,
by
you become
doing
something
yeah.
different, and that's the enjoyable part. That's the beautiful part. What you become, not what you get. Does that make sense?
100%. So someone who's shy and second guessing themselves and lacking confidence.
Yeah.
For them to work on themselves enough to work on that, it's like it's a really fascinating and interesting situation to be in.
On that, right? So say if you were a shy person, a lot would argue your goal could be to be someone who's not shy anymore. Or you don't want to be shy, so you can now talk to someone with confidence. So you can have those conversations with people. I'd be like, in just trying to talk to someone, you're already building on your confidence.
You're already trying, yeah.
Right?
You're not
in
just
doing the things like in learning about how to talk to people, learning opening phrases, learning about questions you can ask the people to have a more free-flowing conversation. In doing all that, you're improving yourself.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. That's the beauty. It's not getting to being able to have a conversation with someone without stopping for 5 minutes and now you're not shy.
Yeah, that's
That's
right.
not it, man.
It's just chipping away.
Yeah, it's you becoming someone who feels confident enough
Yeah.
to hold a conversation with someone. That's beautiful. You've improved. You've progressed. You've changed. That's beautiful.
It goes back to what you got to want to do it too. It goes back to that, right? Because like one of the guys on Discord, I said something like, "Oh, your spelling is bad, man." He goes, "No, I'm really good, fucker. I'm really good at grammar and spelling and all that stuff." But so now, for the last year or so, every time he uses twos and twos wrong, I put an asterisk and put T-O-O, bro, or T-O, bro. Every time he gets it wrong, I correct him. And it's been a year. So I'm like, I'm over it. Like to me, it's just how you speak to someone is important. You get a point across, you want to get your point across as clearly as possible. And he's an intelligent guy, so I'm like, the other day, I just copy-pasted the difference between twos and twos. I'm like, dude, just read this. It's going to take you literally 30 seconds to read, and you'll never get your twos and twos wrong ever again. He goes, fuck it, I don't give a fuck. And I'm just like, man, it's so hard to help people, you know?
Why is it important to you that he uses it correctly?
Because it would only take him a minute.
But you want that for him.
Right, because these are just little things in life that are just like, you chip away at stuff. And it's like, you know, you could be sitting there going, girls on Tinder never respond. I'm like, maybe you spelled your twos and twos wrong. That's already going to fuck you up, bro. I'm like, why? You might as well make your chances the best. Communication's important. Get your twos and twos right. It's just like, you know, I read comments all the time from people that are calling someone stupid, but then they're spelling their twos and twos wrong, and their theirs and theirs wrong. I'm like, I always want to comment, fuck, you're fucking stupid because you can't get your theirs and theirs right, and you're calling somebody else stupid. But it's like, okay, I might be in the minority of people who think like this, but at the same time, it's like, well, why wouldn't you try to improve your communication skills? Such a huge thing that we have with other human beings, right? So if I'm going to put something out there in the world, I definitely want to get my twos and twos right. It's the smallest thing I could do is, again, it's respect. Just respecting the person who's reading this. If they know the difference between twos and twos and I spell my twos and twos wrong, they're like, it fucking annoys them, man. It's like, you know? It's just, it's like using the wrong word in the wrong place. I almost feel like it's the same thing. So, but back to my point, it's more about the attitude. It's like, well, a lot of these younger people are like, well, you try to set them on a path that could potentially help them, but then they're like, I don't give a fuck.
They need to stumble, man.
Yeah.
They need to stumble themselves, honestly. I think a lot of the time, look, I always see it in this way, like the difference between you going to school and reading something. You know, you could read up about, like you think about, you can read and watch all the videos you want about how to ride a skateboard. Until you get on that skateboard, you know, it doesn't matter how much you know about it. You know, your body needs to know about it. You know, in a certain way, you need to feel it. You know, you have to have that experience for yourself sometimes.
You do, man, and that's the thing. Like, whereas I'm completely with you, the new modern world and generation disagrees completely, or they'll always disagree with everything you say anyway. But the instant disagreement would be like, look at those guys who do motorsport and esports, and then they chuck them in a real life car and they fucking win. And it's like, yeah, okay, valid point. But it's getting that way now. It's just like, you know, as much as I love having these huge conversations, I just as much love having simpler conversations. I just think like, I can't say I'm any one way about how I carry myself through life at the moment, whereas maybe in past points in my life, I've been very sure of how I carry myself and how I represent myself.
Yeah.
But these days, it's almost like you're saying with your course, it's like, you have to tailor. You just have to. Every individual you have to tailor. And so it gets harder to speak to groups. You know, like to think that I got up at semi-permanent and spoke in front of 3,000 people, I'm like, holy fuck, that's dangerous these days. Because like there's 3,000 different individuals out there, and I'm saying the one thing.
Yeah.
And it's one way too. It's not even a two-way.
But that's a context and a purpose, right? Like that's what you're there for. So they want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
That's their choice. I think if you are in that mind frame, I need to come up with a message that's going to hit 3,000 potentially different.
Right.
Like you never.
You can't.
Physically, you can't, and also there's no way you're going to know if you can, and it's just not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So that's super important. Like I was just talking about before, like how do you know people? Oh, sorry, you asked the people that come if they're right for it or not. It's like if you've approached us, there's clearly something about us that resonates with you.
There's already something there. There's already
like in that situation we speak of semi-permanent, right? Those 3,000 people are there for a certain purpose.
Right.
I think it's safe to say there's some level of commonality, some universal basis there that you're there for, and you'll be able to speak to that. I don't think you need to.
Like no gun to the head, they're not fucking sitting there.
Yeah.
And if they don't agree with something you said, they can choose to disregard it or not.
Yeah.
That's on them, man. That's on them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think that's like taking on too much responsibility on yourself, like unwarranted.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Like, I think I think as complicated as the world's getting, it is nice to try to uncomplicate it as much as you can, but it's like, it's definitely harder to put yourself in a lane these days. I find that like in the past it was just either, like I'm obsessed with Japanese cars right now, that's my fucking lane, I'm just gonna live and breathe this shit all day long.
Yeah.
And it's just huge success, huge fan base, huge community, no. It was all like really cool, really positive, but now it's kind of like, fuck. It's just like the amount of acceptance levels you have to have for different people at different age groups, levels of experience and everything like that. Like, setting up a community these days would be like much harder if you have to put everyone on a level playing field.
I don't think that's really possible.
It's not. It's not. Yeah, it's not.
But you can have a community based on certain elements, right? So, right, like you're in the car scene, that was the commonality that would bring you together. But you all have these separate lives and separate, like one guy, you could both love S15s, I don't feel like it, but you also like Atari, and the other guy likes ballet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't have to approach or broach the Atari and ballet and be on the same level and be like, man, I need to make sure that, because he likes ballet, I speak in these terms, so he gets it. Like, you do have this commonality of the car.
Yeah.
You can just talk about that, and that's what you enjoy at that time.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Some things are complex, some things don't have to be, man.
Yeah.
That's how I feel, right?
It feels better when you just go, it's fascinating, right?
I think a lot of times we're just like, I need to make sure I make this person comfortable, and I want to feel comfortable, and what do they like, what do they don't like, can I talk about this, can I not? And sometimes it's just not that complicated. It's like, just talk about the car. I just love those wheels, and that's what you talk about, and then you leave.
So that's what I'm talking about. I think like, where it's nice to try to sometimes just have more normal shit talk, fucking not so deep conversations. As like my whole life, I'm always more interested in a deep and meaningful conversation. But I think like if I look back think back about some memories that I had where I met people that were much deeper than I was at that stage in my life, they always sort of did it through intimidation.
That's interesting.
So if I really think back, I've got some memories of meeting some people that were like, I would be having a normal conversation with them about something, first time I meet them or something, and they're like, but Justin, like, what truly do you want to do in life or something? And I'd be like, fuck, I wasn't ready to answer questions like that at that point in my life. But I remember these people, and I think that they were doing it not for the right reasons. I think they were throwing that in because, fuck, I don't want to talk to you about shit. I'm just going to throw you this deep question so that you look up to me, think that I'm amazing, and you can just sit with that. So that
that's what I think it is.
That's what it was, and that's why I remember it. Yeah. Because you remember things that are traumatic, or you remember things that weren't good, like if your parent hit you or something. This shit comes back. If someone treated you badly, it sort of doesn't really go away. It sort of comes back at some point in your life. So I find that fascinating. It's like that's why we talked about this a little bit, where you don't want to suggest people need to have a traumatic experience. You don't want to inspire people to go hunting for that shit, right? And you don't want to come across as like, I'm talking about something that I'm so comfortable talking about, and then you're actually in fact just confusing somebody, and you're making them feel belittled, and So these are the kind of thoughts that I'm having these days. It's like, it's awesome to have us three. We respect each other. We can talk so openly about anything, but we also, sure, the person might have shut the window ages ago. The person who's just like, oh fuck, I don't fucking understand what this guy's talking about. Oh fuck this, waffle. In fact, they're long gone. That's fine, but it's like, I love it how you put it. It's like, there's bits of gold in here if you sometimes sit through something. You might resonate with some things and not others, but that's the reason why I'm doing it. It's like they're therapeutic for me. It's good to see you guys in the flesh, especially considering COVID and all this fucking shit. So these things break up my week, and I know I need these, like when I have a week where there's nothing at all on in the calendar, I worry for myself, you know. Dude, can you last a week without any plans? I'm like, oh, don't do that too often. Don't do 2 weeks, Justin, without anything in the calendar, because you might go to cuckoo land again, you know. So it is like, I've been meaning to talk to you too, Leslie. I'm doing helping someone organize a charity cruise, right, for Black Dog, and her daughter Christy was about to do the graphics for it, but Christy's going through some shit right now, and she's just too busy to do this flyer, right? So I kind of knew it was going to happen anyway, but she's like, "Oh, Justin, can you do the flyer?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't do graphic design anymore. I kind of like taking a political stance against it. But hey, this is a good cause, you know." And I've run events before, and this lady has never run events before, but I'm like, fuck, if I don't watch out, I'm going to do everything for this. Because I just know how to do it, right? So, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, fuck it. Alright, I'll do it. And I was really drunk that night, she was drunk on the phone too, so I'm like, yeah, I'll do the flyer, no worries. I'll write the words, I'll come up with the name for the event. So I did all of this, but the funny thing is, I did a couple of shoots, and then this thing's in my head, you know? Like I said to her, I'll do this flyer by next week. And it's like, I don't want this in my life, but at the same time, like, fuck, if I don't have things to do, like, holy shit, it's really dangerous, right? So I started working this flyer and put really nice words together and needed something. And like, Black Dog, okay, mental health. I just went to Google Images and looked for mental health images, and it's just so shit. It's always like the brain and like fucking depression and whatever. It's just like the imagery for mental health is just so crap. Like the stock imagery or what people think it is. So then I came back to using a concept that I did for your Finding Space logo. So I should ask you off the podcast. You don't have to answer, but I'll ask you off the podcast if it's okay to use it. But it was like a splintered circle, like it's a circle and it just starts breaking at the top. And I use it on this mock-up for this flyer. It says to her, she's like, oh my god, I would never have imagined that, but that's perfect. And my thing is that I thought about doing this flyer and coming up with a name for it for like maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But then when I just fucking sat down, it came out within like 5-10 minutes, the whole thing. And I think that's just such a good analogy for my life and probably everybody else's. It's like, I hate to say Nike, just do it, but fuck, when you just do it, like when you actually just sit down, all of that thinking was such a almost waste of energy. Because that procrastination is killer. It's the destroyer. It is like, oh man, like, I don't know, photographers who shoot 15 events in a row and go, fuck, I've got 15 events to edit, photos to edit. I'm like, yeah, you're more likely just going to go to your 16th event. And then next thing you know, I've got 20 events to edit. And just like that, I can see it in so many people. So many people I meet in life are in that boat where, you know, even I have it to a degree.
Yep.
But I know that if I can sit down, I know I can pump this out and I feel so good about it.
Yeah.
But I know so many people in this situation in life where overthinking, just debilitating their potential because they are not doing it.
Yeah.
You know.
There's this quote, and I was actually talking to you about this morning. It's from Peter Crone, and he's like, most of us are trying to avoid a bad situation that hasn't happened.
There's that, yeah.
I think that's why we procrastinate.
That's huge.
Because that bad situation, say on that edit, is like, I'm going to have to spend a lot of time doing this edit and I'm not going to like doing it.
Yeah, or
so you just put it off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to avoid a bad situation that hasn't happened. I think that's why we procrastinate when I boil it down. It's because you think it's going to be a certain way, but you don't know it's going to be that way or not.
It's like that classic example of like, the hardest part of going to the gym isn't the workout, it's like fucking making your way to the gym.
Getting
right?
to the
gym, right?
Once you're there,
it's sweet, right?
Right.
You know,
right.
Because like...
That's the perfect analogy.
Because like, we were talking about this before in terms of like, the inherent nature of living and struggling, right? I posted something like this recently that, you know, to live and to exist as humans, we are going to suffer. You know, it's inherent. because paradoxically, we are, the most intelligent beings on Earth and have unlimited potential, but at the same time we have to think about our existence and how, hard it is. So it's that in itself, the ability to think about that is a hindrance, like you were saying. It's a level of suffering that we put on ourselves.
Yeah,
right.
100%. It's fascinating, man. I just, it's what, I love it that we always go to Matrix, the movie, because that movie is still one of my favorite movies of all time. And I just love it so much because when it came out and I watched it, it's like, oh my god, this is how I think. And this was shot in Sydney too, and I was living in part of the areas where they shot it in, so I'm like, oh my god, this is too real for me, But that whole concept of the red pill, blue pill is fascinating to me because I think now that I have chosen my path, it's impossible for me to go back.
Totally.
But I'm not interested in going back. It's like I'm so sure of that. So, not everybody might be the same. But like that concept of helping others to reach, it's not happiness, it's just a sense of confidence for me. It's like if you can inspire another human being to just share their thoughts more openly, whether they're right or wrong, and be happy to be proven wrong so that they can actually make some rights, I think that would make the world a better place. I honestly feel like the people who go out there and hurt other people are just people who haven't aired stuff out.
Yeah.
It's just so inside that they've gone and done something really wrong because they don't know it's wrong. Like it was never out. They never talked to anyone about it, or So I think as wifty wafty as some of these big DNMs are, I think they are about getting things in your head out primarily and connecting your brain to your mouth without having this humongous filter that is so thick and it works so well that nothing comes out.
Like speaking authentically and expressing authentically is therapeutic in a way, right?
Yeah, even if it's all wrong.
No matter whether it's right or wrong, right?
Right.
Whatever it is, right? Just the ability for you to, on a consistent basis, express yourself, what you're feeling, what you're thinking, in other ways than just letting it fester in your mind. It's like if you put it to a physical example, what happens if you put a butt plug in and don't shit for 3 months or something? You're gonna your body has a way and a mechanism of getting rid of toxins, bad things that aren't meant to be kept inside. I know that's a really graphic example, an analogy. It paints the fucking picture, You know what I mean? It's in the same way we have thoughts that can over time become toxic for us. That just fester and manifest in the wrong ways, that feed themselves and grow and grow and grow, and then take up residence in your mind.
I think that constipation is pretty much bang on, in general, with people having all this stuff blocked up, and
totally.
I think that's a good analogy for it. And even I used to love going to clubs every week, especially midweek. I'd go clubbing and dance my fucking ass off, and I wasn't there to pick up chicks. And if girls came up to me and tried to talk to me, I'd just snog them right off. I'm like, I'm fucking dancing. That's all I want to do here tonight, And people try to talk to me, I'm like, I'm just here to dance. I'm not here to socialize. And, going to clubs fairly recently and just seeing, pre-COVID, and just seeing how it's the music is there to be tribal, to get your body to move. There's a beat to it so that your body, you just can't help it.
Yeah.
Drawing you to the dance floor to express yourself and let loose and get in the zone or something. But it's not like that. Clubbing is not like that. It's like standing around trying to pick up chicks and rubbing your groin as close as you can behind a girl and hope she turns around and you can steal a kiss or something, or it's just, I don't know what's happened, but it's and this whole guys, I can't fucking dance. There's no way guys can't dance, or expected guys no fucking way I'd dance. And even the guy I said to recently was no fucking way I'd hug you if I ever met you. I don't hug guys. I'm like, oh, what's fucking wrong with all you fucking people, you know? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? It's like, and singing, same shit. Like, it's just like connecting that thing, and like, if you're, why not learn?
It's
how to
just
sing?
all different mediums of expression, man.
Right.
You know, if you're gonna fucking like make yourself into a rigid robot, then hey man, you know,
Constipated rigid robot.
Yeah.
What do they say then? Let out the news, right?
get out than in. And that's
Oh,
applicable in all fucking contexts,
It is,
man,
man.
for sure.
Fucking hilarious, right? But you gotta be shit before you get good. Like, I just think I say that to so many people who are crushing themselves with saying something negative to me, and I'm like, bro, don't be so hard on yourself. Like, you gotta, you know, you gotta release something shit and then get some feedback, and then something, keep trying and you get better at it, right?
Mate, like the point of, you know, putting yourself out there is for you to be able to look back and cringe at the shit that you've done. You know, that shows that you've grown.
I think so, man. I don't like people who like, you know, all they post every single day is like them and their partner in love, and as soon as they break up, they go and delete every single fucking image from the last couple of years. I'm like, you know how long it would have taken for them to sit down and delete every photo? It's just like, come on, guys. You know.
There could be a bunch of reasons people do that, but I get what you're saying. It's kind of like you're doing this thing for so long, and now you think it's going to be viewed in a certain way, so you pull it off. Just
own the shit song that you released in the 80s. You know?
Well, it's part of your evolution.
Right.
That's part of your
Part of your
evolution.
story,
You know,
man.
you wrote a book and you fucking had an opinion in it, and then like someone calls you out on it 10 years later, you're like, I fucking changed, man.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know?
That's one thing people ask me. I don't know if you experience this, but people are like, oh, aren't you afraid to say certain things, or that you say something wrong on the podcast? And I'm like, well, or that you'll say something and then years down the track someone's going to be like, oh, you said this thing, and I'll be like, no, I don't, because if that situation ever happens and I did say something now that I don't agree with at that point, I can just say, yeah, I said that then, and now I think differently, and that's the truth. But being afraid to say anything or do anything because of what might happen goes back to what I was saying. You're trying to avoid a bad future that hasn't happened, right? And even if that does happen, like, you're allowed to change.
You are, and
You're allowed to change.
but I also think there's different levels of owning it, right? Like there's that person that asked you that question, but then there's someone of the exact same sort of experience level in life and everything that are just like uploading nude shit to OnlyFans.
Yep.
And so, you know, if you'd ask some of these young girls, why are you doing that? Like, you know, and then a lot of the time the answer is like, because I'm owning it. There's different levels of owning it though. That's the thing, like, I think like, just because
you
you know
might have
exactly.
things that you regret.
Right.
Just not saying you won't regret.
Yeah, that's right.
But never doing anything because you think something may happen that you may regret.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty shit existence.
Yeah, well, you can't be paranoid.
Yeah.
And you can't be.
And there's also there's like the spectrum of everything, right? I'm not saying go do, because there's.
You can't say no regrets. You know, like.
Yeah, man, it's just not realistic. It's not real life. And also, when people, I think that phrase of like, I'm owning it. It's also sometimes people trying to justify to themselves doing something they really want to do that they think other people might frown upon or think a certain way about, and then to just cut off that feeling of judgment from them.
I think it's exactly that. That's what I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's the same for everybody, but like a few people that have said that to me that I'm owning it. I'm like, are you really though?
Well,
And just throw a spanner in the works,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh fuck, you're right.
there's like people that I know that have done exactly that, and they've done stuff, and they're like, I'm owning it. This is what I want to do. And then,
But is it really?
bro, a year down the track,
Yeah.
they've disappeared off the face of the planet,
Yeah.
and what they were doing at that point never existed. And if you ask them about it, they're very ashamed of it, clearly.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they were probably doing it because someone else wanted it, and
Or-
they had demand for it. Or
Well, that's what you wanted to do at that point in time, but there's always this element of like going too far, like overtly putting out and overcommitting, like, I'm owning it.
Yeah.
It's like, you can just do it.
Yeah.
You don't have to like advertise what you're doing, and that this is your position, and 100%, this is what I believe, and this is the only way it is.
Yeah.
That's some dangerous territory for yourself,
Yeah.
right? Because
It's a mentality.
you may change.
Yeah.
You may change. That's all I'm saying is like.
Yeah. It's like celebrating too early. It's like even the concept of owning something is not great. You know, like even that is potentially like people can like own people or own property or whatever, and it's just like fuck. You never really truly own it. Like you own a house, you're still paying fucking council rates and all this shit and like whatever. There's always some complexities attached to owning something. You know.
I think like what I was trying to get at in the owning thing is like you're just trying to prove something to someone.
Or to yourself, like
Yes.
there's a lot of attitude in saying like I'm owning
not
it.
even
It's like
prove, like convince.
Mm.
That's what I was talking about. It's
Mm.
like you're trying to convince someone. That whole thing of like if someone is doing something and their friend questions them about it, and they're like, I'm just owning it.
Yeah.
The way it's said and the energy that it carries, like I'm owning it. It's like this is what I want to do, and stop asking me about it.
I was about to say, when
Right?
you say it, it's like end of conversation.
Yeah, it's
There's
cutting
nothing
that off.
more.
It's
Yeah.
cutting that off.
Yeah.
And if that's your attitude about it, I would just implore you to think about why that is how you feel, or why that's the way you reacted or responded, right? Maybe there's something more there that you need to explore. Because for me, if you had a healthy relationship with whatever you chose to do, or whatever you're talking about, you'd be like, okay, like this is what I think. Like if you ask me a question, I'll respond.
There's a
You
conversation.
wouldn't be defensive about it.
Yeah, that's right. It's the defensiveness of it, right?
Yeah,
It's like, I'm just owning it.
Yeah.
It's what I want to do. That's it. It's like, well, why do you want to do that? Just because. That's what I want to do. Like, okay, that's cool. But if you can't answer why, or if you're cutting people off, or if you don't want to explain something, I think there's something to that, and perhaps it's worth exploring why.
I find it fascinating, man. Like I was in a long-term relationship with this girl who would never like to get into huge DMs like what we've been talking about for the last few hours, because she just found it pointless. And she would always end conversations rather than entertain interesting conversation. So one example would be like, I've always had more girlfriends than guy friends, so she kind of systematically destroyed my relationships one by one, like with all these girls. And she ended up just saying, we ended up talking about flirting, and she was like, well, flirting's bad. Kind of like a full stop thing. You know, like, would you like it if I flirted with heaps of guys? I'm like, well, probably not. And she's like, well, end of conversation then. And it was, life with her was like that. It was just like, rather than potentially entertaining something, it was like, put yourself in my shoes, yes or no? No? Good. End of conversation. And it was a series of things like that. And at that time I was like, well, fuck. Just a different way of thinking for me. Maybe I'm just too arty-farty. You know? And at that point in my life I was like, shit. Maybe I've worked my way over all these years to be this confident, cocky, kind of like, oh, I know I can have a good conversation with this person, a great D&M about shit, a challenging D&M. You know, hop in a taxi and talk about something difficult, just to be entertaining, just for fun, of it. And like after that relationship, I was kind of like back to square one for me. It's like, oh fuck. Sometimes it's nice to just go black and white and just go fuck. You know? End of conversation. Let's just eat. You know, or whatever. So it's interesting, like, you know, I think about these things sometimes too, like, you know, just overcomplicating things. But that's life. That's what makes life fun in some ways, you know. But then confidence and ego is like something that I still struggle with. Not the lack of, just like too much confidence, too much ego, too much of a comfort zone. And that's something that I'm very wary of. You know, like, I haven't met anyone recently that can just cut me down like that and just go, well, you know, would you like it if this happened to you? And just go, oh fuck. Like, I haven't had that in a long time, you know.
Do you want it?
Oh, I don't know, like, I mean, like the first time we met each other, the first time Shaun, you and I met at Leslie's favourite cafe, I was fucked, bro. I was just like, really struggling. Like I do often think about times like that where I'm just like so surprised that I could get there. You know, you're talking about like, yeah, someone who got up in front of 3,000 people and so confidently spoke for an hour and I loved it, every minute of it, you know. I loved every week of being nervous as fuck before that. And I loved like fucking patting myself on the back when I hopped off the stage. It's just like one of the greatest things I've ever done. But then to have those experiences in your life and then be at a place where I'm meeting someone I've never met before and just pouring it out because I'm like, oh my God, I really don't know where I am right now. I don't know, I'm trying. But it's like, now I must understand what it's like for some people. When you're just trying, you just don't even know how. You're so lost. You're so far off the track that you're like, doesn't matter what anyone can say or what you do. It doesn't necessarily make you feel better in the moment, you know? Like, it was good to be out. I hadn't been out in fucking ages. It was good to actually have a shower and go out and see you guys and eat something healthy. But it wasn't necessarily the thing that helped. It was just like, fuck, I just really remember back to that day where I was just super lost. Just trying to find some sort of reason to keep going. So yeah, so I really do understand that position, you know. And it's like, you know, we talk about you surviving cancer, me with my dad dying, but then like now I've got another thing, and I never even thought I'd have two. It's almost like a fucking earthquake in the same place, you know. Oh fuck, my fucking house got burnt down again, the second time. It's like, holy shit. You know, is there going to be another time up ahead? Like, holy fuck. But yeah, so I'm still like just climbing out of it and getting stronger, and these podcasts help, and you know, hanging out with like-minded people helps, you know. And it's interesting, like what you guys are doing. I get it. Like I get what you're trying to do. That sharing is caring. Some people could do with a bit of guidance. I like how you call it guidance, not just like help. You know, because it's like you have to, like, guidance is much more realistic to me.
And they're different. I think help is like me doing it for you.
Right.
Someone doing something.
It's like we were talking about with the kind of
someone doing something for you, right?
Yeah.
Whereas guidance is someone showing another person how to do something.
Yeah.
And I feel that the best guidance comes from, you know, people that have done things, that may have done what you want to do.
Yeah.
Or are somewhere where you feel like you may want to be.
Yeah.
Right? That's what's worked for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the only place I know how to come from now, is like things that I know have worked for me. Right?
Well, yeah, that's how you got to lead, right? You got to lead by experience, and you know, that's what I think. What you're doing is a really good thing. I just hope that you guys manage to figure out how to bridge the people who really would benefit the most from what you're offering. Like, that's the world we live in now. Is so difficult to reach your true audience. Even though we're saying you can pay for it with Facebook, it's all easier and stuff than ever. At the same time, it's so oversaturated that, you know, people just hate ads. People don't like them. People block them.
That part's really interesting, right? And something that has changed for me because of, you know, my friendship with Les and seeing how he operates in different avenues. Like with your mentorship, Les doesn't like advertise the mentorship, right? And like he said, he's like, when you are ready, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah.
That's how he operates. It's what he believes. It's how he is, right? Whereas I come from a completely different school of thought, from my marketing and advertising background of like, if you have something that you want to share with the world, find a way to get someone's attention, get them interested in it, and then you can provide that thing.
I'm with your background. Like,
right?
I'm like, fuck, if, you know, I've got no one to blame but myself. If I want more views, I know the tools. I've got the tools to go out and do it.
That's right. But there's a whole different mentality out there, right? Like, which Les describes, which is, I'll put it out, and if it resonates with you, like, it resonates with you. and then we move forward.
That's just because Leslie is like next level fucking with the universe and shit, man. I like it. You're a, you know, the Asian manifestation ways and stuff like that, the old scripts, the old learnings, like you take that on board quite literally in a lot of how you carry yourself and your business and stuff. I like that too, you know, like just having faith in the planet and universe and doctrines and shit.
My way is like, I understand I can't help everyone, you know. I understand that I serve a very unique and specific medicine, you know, and it's not for everyone, and I understand that, and that's cool. But if you resonate with me, if you trust me, you know, you will come to me, and you will know that my medicine is for you, and then I can actually help you. Because like I'm not here to fucking make money, you know. That's not the. Of course, I charge, right? But that's not the guiding principle that defines my decisions.
100%.
You know, I want to be able to help you. You know, if I know that I can't help you, then I'm not gonna fucking, you know, offer you my services.
Yep.
That's just swindling. You know,
Yep.
That's manipulation. I'm not about that. You know, that's just my personal values. You know.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that's what it comes down to, man. It comes down to like good people. You know, like people always they're very well aware of those quotes about surrounding yourself with positive people, people who are motivated and all that kind of stuff. But that's what it's about. Like good people are people who I hate to be so black and white and simple about it, but it's like good people are people who don't like put making money first. I like to think that that's like a personal thing for me, and a lot of people would argue and say that money's not evil, but man,
I agree with you on that one.
yeah, but yeah, exactly. A lot of people. Yeah. But man, like as soon as I took money out of the equation for myself personally, like fuck, it's easy to do good things. You know, like when you take compromise out of things, then you can start to be more pure about why you're doing things. And money for me, when I look at how other people generate it and the compromises they make to make more money, is why I'm not surprised with how many people are so fucked up and lost. You know, I'm just not surprised at all. Because the owning it thing comes into mind again. Yeah, but I'm fucking owning it. You know, I'm fucking raking it in. And people even say to me, yeah, start an OnlyFans, Justin, you make billions, man. You'll fucking rake it in. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. It's all about that.
Is it about that though for you? That's the thing.
Right, so then I love to meet people that have figured that out. Like, what they do matters to their very ethos. They're very, sleeping, resting easy, putting your head on the pillow at night and feeling good about what you're doing. And yeah, readjusting and realigning your values and all that kind of stuff. You know, I think that just takes time, right?
Absolutely.
You know,
for sure.
And that's what I want for people, I suppose. It's like slowly just to fucking start making your life harder.
Essentially. You described it before, you know, when you met us at the cafe. You didn't. It was tough for you, but you were just trying. You didn't know what you were trying for, what you were working for, but you were trying. Like you said, the analogy is beautiful. Like, you know, coming out of this hole and where you are now, and you're still working every day, right? So,
yeah, still working on it, and not so much like, it's funny because I'm meeting a whole lot of people that are like trying to catch up with me because they want to talk to me about helping them word finding their purpose. I've literally had people like, so I think I fucking figured it out. I just want to bounce some off you and have a day out and let's talk shit all day. And I find that I always really help them by the end of the day. They love being able to talk about it because maybe their closest friends are like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is too, over the top. And I really get what they're trying to say, but it's so funny to hear how much pressure people put on themselves to find that purpose. I'm like, you're just being too hard on yourself. Like it's not about coming up with the perfect sentence to be able to say to someone, this is my purpose.
But there's also the whole thing about finding your purpose, right? For me, like personally, I think you choose.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's just a different perspective as well. But until someone has presented you with a different perspective, you can't know.
Well, I was about to say, I think I said to a lot of people, like, chill the fuck out. Like, your purpose could change next year. Don't put everything into this and just go like it's got to be perfect, because like purpose can change all the time.
But I think also just where we are is like so much shit is spewed at us. You hear things enough times, or you see other people saying things that you respect, and they say it a certain way, like you need to find your purpose. That's
all
when you
the
start
time.
to think, right?
All the
You need to
time.
actually think like, I need to find it, which means it's something that already exists that I must find, that I need to locate,
Yeah.
right? But what if it's not like that? What if it's not like that? Like I personally don't think it's like that.
Yeah.
I
don't think everyone
you
needs
choose.
purpose. No.
I think you choose what you do. Like there's a choice in it.
Well, yeah, and that's where people are debilitated, right? We're going around in circles, but it's kind of like that whole concept of not having the confidence to make a choice. It's pretty common out there. It's pretty common out there. So I think like that whole concept of just like bolstering, if people are out there and like growing crops and something's kind of wilting and it needs a stick to like bolster it up so it gets more light. That concept of like helping people do that, or guiding people to be able to just giving them a bit of a prop and a bit of like it's all right, it's okay. I'm sort of slowly getting back to that, but it's a little bit more complicated for me to put it into words than just like living the rest of my whole career so far has just been like, oh, so long as I'm inspiring people through my art and creativity and stuff, that was enough for me. And that was like a simple thing to just go, every day's okay so long as I'm like just inspiring people. But now it's like, oh fuck, I can't just be like that. It's a little bit more complicated now. So I'm still trying to figure out what it is that I'm on the planet for, but it's not at the same time bothering me. I'm not sitting there going, fuck, I need to like spit this out.
Yeah.
I need to define this. It's not like that at all.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, I'm so much calmer now about like, what day it is, what time it is, and all that kind of stuff. If anything, like I said a little bit before, I'm just noticing that if I don't plan anything in the week, like, oh, this is not really good. Like a week is nothing in the greater scheme of things, but like, yeah, I'm starting to think like maybe if you're talking about what humans need, water and food and stuff, well, I need to do something in the week just to make myself feel more human.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, just catch up with someone or do a podcast or even those Monday morning rants that I do are so therapeutic because it's like Sunday comes around, it's like rather than like, oh fuck, I've got to go to work tomorrow. It's not like that, it's like, oh fuck, I've got to do a rant tomorrow. Get up in the morning, I'm like, let's do that rant. It's just like, I'm not a big believer in huge amounts of consistency and being a robot, but like that one thing a week is already.
Yeah, what it works for you, man, as an individual.
Yeah, that's right. Alright, boys, well, I reckon we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
I know I can talk to you guys all.
voice, so it's hard.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, that's the thing, I can talk to you guys for fucking days, so, so even, you guys doing this thing over 6 weeks, was it?
6
like,
weeks.
yeah, don't worry, man, people will love you guys. People will love you guys. They won't leave you alone. But I wish you guys all the best.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, man.
And let's go grab some lunch, eh? Good stuff. Right. Thanks, guys, for listening. I'll leave links to all of Leslie and Shaun's stuff in the description below. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.